Hello, everyone. This is Gina Tucci, and I am the events manager here at Master Builders Association. Welcome to today's webinar, Create Your Own Economic Recovery. Our presenter today is Wayne Autumn. He is a nationally known author, speaker, and consultant, and is the president and founder of Autumn Enterprises. With nearly 40 years of experience in the fields of personal, professional, and business development, Wayne is dedicated to creating extraordinary businesses and leaders and has guided hundreds of businesses to ever greater levels of success through his Lead from Strength methodology. He's the author of Live from Strength, or Live from Strength, excuse me, and the soon to be released Lead from Strength, Mastering the 9 Components of Extraordinary Leadership. We will be providing you a copy of this recorded webinar post-event. We also will have a handout that will be given at the end, towards the end of this event, and emailed to you post-event as well, with some very valuable tools that Wayne has created for you. And if you have any technical questions, I would like you to pop those in the chat module there, and I will do my best to help you through them. And then if you have any questions, we are going to do a little Q&A for you at the end, and pop those there in the question box, and we will address as many as we can. So without further ado, Wayne.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all home, safe and sound as all of your family is. Gina, I want to thank you and Master Builders for this opportunity to be of service and value to the membership. For those of you who may not know me, I'm also a Master Builders member. And this is just truly a great opportunity here for me, and I'm very, very appreciative of the opportunity to speak to all of you today. So let's just go ahead and jump right in here. Gina did give a background, and I want to give her my appreciation as probably the best introduction I've ever written. So I appreciate her doing that for me. That was the first joke of the day, folks. I can't tell if you were laughing, but you know, that was the first joke of the day. But what I want to say about my background that is important is that I've been a consultant for well over 3 decades, focused on business productivity. And so I've been around the block a couple of times and have helped businesses through economic recovery multiple times. And so what you're about to learn today comes from not only a passion for understanding how to help businesses be successful, but a great deal of experience. So here's what I'm hoping you'll get from today. And the first thing is, we're going to talk a little bit about these current economic conditions and understand what they are, and talk a little bit about what you can do about that. Then we want to talk about the 3 foundational principles that will help you to create your own economic recovery, with the hope that what you will walk away with is how you can plan to confidently create your own economic recovery. Now, I'm not going to be able to answer all your specific questions about how you apply these tools, but what I'm significantly confident in is that if you apply the process that I'm about to go over, you will have built the foundation of information, the foundation of data that will allow you to make more confident decisions about how you and your business individually can create success even in tough economic times. So let's look at the challenges behind us or in front of us right now. It's interesting to look back, you know, that at the end of 2019, they always come out with these predictive surveys about what businesses are concerned about. And one in particular that I selected here was BizBuySell. In their survey with small business owners, here's what they thought would be the issues facing them before COVID-19 became such a factor. And in the be careful what you wish for or worry about, a potential economic recession was obviously number one. But issues like the presidential elections, rising minimum wage, and a number of other things have kind of been pushed by the wayside. So that by mid-April, according to a survey of small business owners done by Main Street America, the biggest issue was whether or not the business would survive. If you can read this particular slide, you will see that only 16% of businesses didn't think COVID-19 would be a concern regarding their ability to even survive a recession. And that business revenue was a critical factor in whether or not they would be able to weather the storm. And then finally, unemployment became a considerable issue. And in this particular survey, that would lead to over 3.5 million, 35 million people unemployed just through small businesses. And now that we're in the first week of May, we're actually seeing some of that data come to fruition. So I have a question for everybody, and that is, if all of these external factors and economic challenges exist, and they pretty much exist for all companies in any given industry or any given geography, how much control do you have over them? Now take a moment to think about that. I think you will come to a very quick conclusion that not much. You can work through master builders and other organizations like this to lobby government for changes, and master builders has done a great job of helping small businesses get back to work in the construction industry, and they deserve a great deal of credit for that, along with other associations that helped in that. But aside from that, you really don't have much control over these economic conditions. So the real challenge then is to look past all of those economic factors, take advantage and adapt to the current conditions, focus, invest, manage, and sell and market efficiently, and create your own economic recovery. Or as Walt Disney once famously said, I heard there's going to be a recession. I've decided not to participate. So what can you do to create your own economic recovery? Well, you can focus on what you can control, and that's your business. So let's talk a little bit more about that. If you're reading, current articles, and if you look back on articles, during or following recessions, the Great Recession at the early 2010s, you're going to see that there's a lot of common strategies, and those common strategies oftentimes are conflicting, such as, well, cut costs, cut staff, improve operational efficiencies, focus on the customers, manage cash flow, invest on marketing and R&D, increase R&D. Some say you need to invest. Hey, there's some A players out there that probably are not working today. Why don't I take advantage and hire them? So there's a lot of conflicting suggestions on just what you do. So I thought, okay, I'll look for some research that will help us hone what we need to do. And one of the only real studies that was done in 2010. In fact, Harvard Business Review did this study because they couldn't find any studies. They were going to go study the studies, but they couldn't find any studies on how to manage through recession. And they concluded in part, companies that master the delicate balance between cutting costs to survive today and investing to grow tomorrow do well after a recession. So if we're looking at that, we're kind of going, well, all right, that's all great. What's right for me? Just give me a second here while I make sure that we're not interrupted again. So what is right for you? So if you take all of these articles, you take the studies, and you look at all the great business books that are out there, and though I've not read them all, I've read a significant number of them, and there's some real truths that you can boil that down to. What do you do to manage through an economic recession? You get focused, you get real, and you get moving. So let's talk about what these three things are and the process of achieving it. Getting focused means having a clear strategy. It's deciding what direction you're going to take, creating a compelling vision of your success, not success in general, but what you define as success. And then making sure that your purpose is clear so that you can drive day-to-day activity. And finally, your decision-making criteria needs to be determined. You need a clear set of values that everybody in your organization is going to use to make those tough decisions as you navigate through the recession. So let's get into detail about each of these three aspects. Start with a quote. George Harrison, yes, the famous Beatle, he said, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there." But I love this one from Yogi Berra. "If you don't know where you're going, you'll wind up someplace else." So what a vision does for you, it sets your direction. It creates your true north. It makes sure that everyone on your raft is rowing in the right direction. It defines what success means for you in your business. Your success is not someone else's success. There is no clear definition of what success is for any one individual or any one business. There's only what's right for you. And it becomes your emotional driver. Some of the people asked, and looked at challenges when they signed up for this webinar. And one of them was, how do we get people motivated? Well, this is the start. This is the key aspect of creating motivation, is setting that compelling vision of where you're going to go so everybody can get behind it or not. But those who do are going to drive forward to this, and they're going to be compelled to act. It defines your reason for being and being in business. Literally, it's what gets you up in the morning. Why are you doing this? Or as Simon Sinek said, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. So vision sets that direction that everyone can get behind and creates the framework for decision making as you navigate through this. Let's talk about mission. Now, I'll say this now, and I'll say it in just a moment, is that here's probably where the greatest amount of work is going to be needed in terms of adjusting for the current condition. But Gandhi said, "A small body of determined spirits fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission can alter the course of history." And more focused on business, Peter Drucker, very largely thought as the father of modern business management, said that business purpose and business mission are so rarely given adequate thought, is perhaps the most important cause of business frustration and failure. So what is a mission? A mission sets your focus for day-to-day productivity. Now I'm going to define in more detail what productivity is a little bit later. But a lot of people are asking about, where do I cut efficiency? How do I focus? What do I focus on, etc. Well, it's based on your mission. It's understanding what you do, for whom you do it, and what value you create. It is the products and services that you're going to deliver. And maybe you need some new products and services. Maybe you need to tweak the ones you've got now. And it's for whom you market and sell those to. That is, who are your customers? And more importantly, who are your ideal customers? Again, there may be a shift or pivot here in terms of who the ideal client is. If you're in residential construction, you know, the likelihood is the market may have shrunk, but it's not going to go away. So how are you targeting to the people who are likely still going to build or remodel? And you need to shift that message and create a unique value proposition that sets yourself apart. And I know there are a few marketing professionals on this call, and I know that they will agree with this, is that your marketing can't be effective if you don't have a clear target market and you don't have a clear target message. So as I said before, this is probably where you're going to have to pivot in this new economy. You know, you've probably heard that term 1,000 times and wondered what the heck it was, or how am I going to pivot? And answering and creating a clear mission will give you the tool set and the information to answer that question: where and how do I pivot? So what are values? Well, Roy Disney said it's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. And Stephen Covey said the ability to subordinate an impulse to a value is the essence of a proactive person. Reactive people are driven by feelings, by circumstances, like what we have today, by conditions, by the environment. Proactive people are driven by values, carefully thought about, selected, and internalized values. Imagine everyone in your organization acting in kind and knowing how to make decisions as you navigate through these tough waters. Can you see now how this will guide your organization and create the proactive way to make decisions and create your ethical framework as you hit the tough decisions? So in review, to get focused means to create a clear and compelling vision of where you want to go. Now, that vision might need to be a little bit more short term, okay? But a vision is not survival. It's a clear definition of what your business looks like at some point in the future. And a clear mission which tells people what you do, for whom you do it, and what value you create, and drives day-to-day activity. It gives you your unique purpose and gives you the tool set for defining where efficiencies need to be made, and a set of values which will guide all of those decisions so that you can stay ethical and authentic. So now we're turning to the next aspect of get focused, get real, and get moving. Let's talk about what getting real means. Getting real means you need to take an honest assessment of your company's ability to achieve that vision, execute the mission, and live those values. You need to know whether you can do it and what stands in the way of you doing it right now. So you need to ask, where am I today in relationship to those three strategic components? What do I need to change to make it more likely that I can get there? And then what do I need to do right now? Where's my focus? Where's my priority in order to move me from where I am today towards my vision and my ability to execute on my mission in an authentic way? So assessing where you are today starts with a standard SWOT analysis. Most business people have seen this. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The strengths and weaknesses are assessing your organization from an internal perspective. That is, contemplate your navel and see how, what you do well and what are some things you need to improve on. And external is you got to look at the opportunities, and in this particular case, in any economic conditions like we have here, we've got some changing customer needs, right? From, if you're a remodeler, your customers are going to be a little less desirable to have face-to-face meetings. How are you going to change? Okay, there's probably some new markets, and there's probably some markets that need, that aren't going to be there, right? And another thing is, for a long time, especially in the remodeling industry, you didn't have access to talent. Well, maybe now you do. And then opportunities are what's happening, and threats are what's happening out there. And, obviously this is the pandemic, the current economic conditions, etc. But here's the important note about threats, is that you don't identify the threats because you're going to try to manage them. As we talked about at the top of this presentation, you identify them because you're going to need to manage around them, but not to try to manage them. So assessing where you are today is taking each aspect of your vision, mission, and values. If you're going to get the vision, mission, and value exercises at the end of this presentation, and you will see that each one has a set of questions in them, and so there's going to be a number of aspects for when you've got a well-defined vision, mission, and values. And so you take each of those aspects and you just ask yourself the question on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being got it, have it, it's done, we've achieved it, to 1, haven't even started, haven't even gone there, right? You're just going to assess just how close are you. Now, whether you do this individually as a business owner or you do this as a team, okay, and use collective thought, doesn't matter. But what you need to come to is an idea of just where the focus areas may be, right? Because if you got a 9 or a 10, that's probably not where you need to focus. Or if it is a 9 or a 10 and you're doing it really well, that may be a focus area for continuing to do it, but it isn't probably the thing that you need to focus on right now to make changes in these economic conditions. So then you need to assess what needs to be changed. And so the very simple tool here is to take those things that are 8 or less, again, 9 or 10, hey, got it, I don't need to focus on that. But if I rated it an 8 or a less, in order to make it a 9 or a 10, what would I have to start doing that I'm not doing now, continue doing that I'm doing well, but probably as importantly, what am I doing that I got to stop doing? Where do I need to stop investing time and energy? Where do I need to stop investing negative thought, attitudes, and beliefs? Okay, where do I need to get rid of things that are standing in the way of our success, as we've defined it through our vision, our mission, and our values? And then the last part of that is, okay, what do we do now? Okay, we've done the assessment. What do we do now? Well, what we need to do is we need to prioritize. And there are 3 ways to prioritize: importance, urgency, and order. Importance is literally, what do I think's most important? What do I feel is most important? Urgency is that sense of got to get it done. Okay, they're both emotional in their nature. There's no, it's okay that this is where you use your, I guess you would call it your gut to decide. It's okay, because the next thing you do is put it in logical order, right? That is, put it in the logical sequence of things, because if one thing has to happen before another thing, okay, thing 2 is not the most important, thing 1 is. I didn't know I'd get a reference to Dr. Seuss in this today, but there we go. So then you use the ratings, your 1 to 10 ratings, your SWOT analysis, and your stop, start, and continue as your guide for deciding which ones this is. You just literally go through your vision, your mission, and your values, and all those things that you marked 8 or less, you just say, okay, which one's the most important? Which one's the highest priority? Mark that number 1. Go to the next one, number 2. Go to the next one, number 3, until you can get those top 4 to 6. Now, why 4 to 6? For those of you on this call who have worked with me in the past, you know this analogy, and it's very, very simple. We've all seen either on television or in person, jugglers juggle, multiple items. But most of us have never seen anyone juggle, and there's probably a rare few people, more than 5 or 6 items. It's a metaphor for the human and business condition in that we really can't juggle more than 4 to 6 things at a time. And it's folly to think that you can. Literally folly. If you got 15 things that you think are priorities, at least divide them up into groups and give those priorities to individuals who can manage the 3 to 5 things in that list. But no one individual and no one organization can manage more than a few priorities. And in this particular case, you might set those priorities, work them, set a next set of priorities, work them, etc., and work it through that. But you got to start at the start. So, to review, to get real, you need to honestly assess your company's ability to act on the strategy, prioritize your strategic actions. Sorry, we got through there a little quick. Now let's talk about getting going. All right, and getting going, not to make too much of a metaphor of this, is really where the rubber meets the road. Okay, and it means to confidently act each day with intent to achieve your vision, purpose to execute your mission, and integrity to make decisions that are in alignment with your values. So let's take each of these things in a little bit more detail, because what we're talking about here is you have to be highly productive each and every day, because today's all we've got. Think about it. It all comes down to, what do I do today? And imagine yourself at the end of the day being able to sleep well, saying, I did everything I could today to create my own economic recovery. Imagine the power of that. Imagine the feeling of that. Imagine how the good rest that you would get. Okay. That's what we're talking about, is we're driving day-to-day activity because we have that clarity of vision, clarity of purpose, clarity of values. We understand our priorities. Now we're going to act. And to make sure that those acts are as productive as possible, we need to, first of all, start with a definition of what the heck does productivity mean? What does it mean to be productive? It means being effective, efficient, and giving people the authority to act. Which means you're effective if you're doing the right things. It doesn't do us any good to be doing all the wrong things. We got to be doing the right things. Okay. And we need to do those things really, really well and have the authority to decide what to do. I work with a lot of small businesses that are owner operated. And one of the greatest challenges they have is they tell me, oh, I'm having to make all the decisions. Well, they're having to make all the decisions because they haven't assigned the responsibilities, accountabilities, and authorities to other people so that they can make the decisions and not have to come to them. That's what productivity is. Everyone in the organization not only rowing the boat in the right direction, but executing on that mission because they know what their job is. They know how they're measured for success, and they have the authority to make the decisions necessary to make that happen. And literally, this is the rubber, where the rubber meets the road. So effectiveness means understanding your responsibility. Efficient means understanding how you're measured and what your accountabilities are, what you need to deliver. And having authority means knowing what you can decide and what you can't. So to be effective, you got to set meaningful goals that are smart. And these goals need to be in alignment with your highest priority items. So you take those 4 to 6 priority items you created and you create a SMART goal for each and every one of them. That's where you start to be effective. You know what needs to be done. To be efficient, you need to set performance guidelines. When does this need to be done? What does it look like when it's done? What's the quality measures for this? Okay, you know, how much is this going to have to cost? Got to set clear performance guidelines so people know what to do. And then you have to routinely measure against those guidelines and provide effective feedback, mentor people, train them so that you develop that efficiency and effectiveness. The oldest axiom in performance management is this: tell me how I'm measured, and I will tell you how I perform. So if you want performance in your organization, it's incumbent upon you to define the performance guidelines, measure and manage, provide feedback, and make mid-course corrections as you go along. Now, having a right of authority is just very simple. It's telling people what you can and cannot decide, and whether or not people have to consult someone else before making that decision or inform someone else after making that decision. In a process of delivering value to a customer, if I'm not telling somebody that I'm done with my part of the process, then maybe the next part of the process isn't getting done. At the same time, if I'm not meeting performance standards when I'm done, then I'm delivering that next person in line with substandard material for them to do their job. Okay, so I have to have the right decision, and I have to know what it is I need to do well. So getting going to review all of this is acting confidently each day. And you develop that confidence by setting SMART goals with clear action plans, clear performance standards, and consistent measurement, review, and train. Now, here's where, you know, in an economic condition like we are, we compress the time schedule for these. It may be daily scrums, it may be weekly reviews, it may be monthly evaluations of financial numbers. It doesn't matter, but that depends on the individual situations and the individual goals that you set. Okay, you can't say, well, you know, we need this in 3 months, and then get everybody together in 3 months. How do we do? That doesn't work. We have to make sure that we're consistently measuring, managing, and adapting as possible as we go along. What this means then is that it naturally and authentically cuts costs, puts the investment where it needs to be, and drives productivity. You know, one of the things that small business owners think about all the time is, okay, where do I cut costs? Where do I add in R&D? You know, what do I invest in? You know, where am I supposed to cut, you know, money? Well, you couldn't have answered that question until you got to this point, until you had a clarity of what you needed to do based on your vision, mission, and values, and had set clear performance standards. You don't know what efficiency is. But when you do that and you give people the responsibility, accountability, and authority to act, it happens naturally. Innovation occurs. People find new ways to do it, okay? You don't have to force efficiency. You create it by giving people the right tools to act confidently each day. So to create your own economic recovery, and we're about finished here, folks, it's pretty simple. You need a business plan. And as these gentlemen will show you, you don't need just any old business plan. You need a business plan with real meaning. One that clearly sets your vision, defines your mission, sets your values, and one that's authentic and real to you and your business and your situation. There's no one size fits all. There's only doing the work one day at a time based on a clear and compelling vision, mission, and values. So to create your own economic recovery, remember, you can't do much about the economic conditions out there, but you can do, and you must do, everything that you can regarding your business. So to create your own economic recovery is about getting focused, getting real, and getting moving with a business plan that has real meaning to you. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge that I leave business owners all the time when I speak to them. My challenge to you is this. If you and everyone in your organization are not working each day with intention to achieve your vision, purposely focusing on your mission to build the products and services, market and sell them to those who will buy, and then deliver on that unique value proposition when you do, all while acting with absolute integrity while you do that. If that's not what you're doing each day, just what are you doing in business? So what's next? As Gina mentioned here, you're going to get a set of tools from me that will help you define your own strategic foundation. Anyone on this webinar can contact me to schedule a free, no obligation, it's not a sales presentation, focus on you and your business to get your specific questions answered to the extent that I can. Free 60-minute consultation. So it's open to all of you. Of course, I'm available to help go a little deeper. And where my real value is I can help you get to these results quicker, faster, more efficiently, and literally with less cost. And should we agree that that's the right thing to do, anybody on this webinar can receive up to 10 to 20% off my services, depending on what they are. Disclaimer is, what's that old disclaimer? Limits apply or something like that. Okay. You can join my mailing list. You can reach me there. Go to leadsfromstrength.com. If you go there, you can request the consultation, or you can just email me directly. You're also going to be given a survey right after this presentation. That will give you an opportunity to check the box for me to contact you directly if you wish. Again, no worries. It's all no obligation, and we'll take your particular business issue and we'll talk about it. You can join my mailing list. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I guess right now, I'd like to thank everyone very, very much for this opportunity to speak with you. and we'll take any of your questions.
Hi, Wayne, this is Gina, and I am gonna go ahead and send you over some questions here right now about some challenges people were having when they registered. And remind anybody that if you do have a question right now, go ahead and pop that in the question box and I will help get those to Wayne and we'll get those answered. The first one I've got for you from Carl Lind of CB Construction. He's having some challenges with projecting future sales and revenue. His question would be, what's the best strategy to help in this new uncharted territory?
Well, I'm sorry, it was Carl, right?
It's Carl, yeah.
Okay. Okay, the short answer, Carl, is there's no short answer. Meaning, with uncertain economic times, forecasting is probably one of the most difficult things that we can do. And I would, suggest that that worrying about forecasting right now is less important than making sure that you're targeting your marketing and sales to the right buyers with the right message, that's in alignment with your products and services. There's another webinar or workshop that I was going to do for MBEX called The Myth of Managing Sales. You can't manage sales, their result. All you can do is manage the activities of sales. So I would say that forecasting is not as important as making sure that you are doing the right activities in your sales process to the efficiency, the highest efficiency that you can, and holding your sales staff, if it's you or whoever it might be, accountable to those activities. That's the only way you're going to sell your way out of this, okay? So the unfortunate answer is that forecasting, it may be a little folly, but you still can control the activities of sales, even though you may have to do more of it. Pick up the phone more often, send more emails, target your market more effectively. I hope that answers that, Carl.
I have another question here. So this one's from Mike Flynn, and it sort of piggybacks a little onto what you just said. So what's some of the best ways he can reach clients who can afford his services?
Well, Mike, it's good. I'm glad you're on here. Mike and I are old friends. We played baseball together. Mike, I'm going to take that answer a little bit to the side here and suggest that if you're worried about affordability, you haven't built value. So the real question is then, how do you have you really clearly defined the value of your services in terms of its impact to your clients and their bottom line, and then priced according to that value and sold value? So it's not a question of price. If you're selling price, then you haven't been selling value. So it's making sure that you've done the work to understand the value of that, and making sure that you're marketing to those people who actually value that value, rather than people who are just going to price shop you. That's it.
Okay, I've got another one here from Paul Valley. So in facing another friend, I hope, in facing uncertainty of planning for growth in our businesses, struggling with cutting back, or should they be moving forward aggressively?
Yeah, Paul, I'll go back. You and I have worked together on this in the past, and I'll go back to it's time to refresh that mission statement, because it's understanding what products and services are going to be most effective right now, who your target market is, what's the value proposition of that target market, whether that's the end consumer or the builders, etc., and getting really, really sharp on that, okay? And then hopefully those other questions will become a little bit more, again, they're not easy to answer, but it will give you the information to make make deciding easy.
Okay. I've got one from Gary, please excuse my pronunciation, Palastro, from In-Store Technology. How do we kickstart the sales cycle and getting salespeople motivated?
You know, that's a really good question. And I'll go back to one of the things that I said, Gary, about where motivation starts. Motivation starts with that clarity of vision. It making sure that everybody knows that how and why and when to row in the right direction, so that there is this common feeling of power that they're creating something wonderful, that why is understood. So that's the first thing, okay? And Daniel Pink wrote a book called Drive, and he talked about there's 3 natural motivations that all of us have. We want autonomy, we want purpose, and we want the ability to master something. We want mastery, right? So in this particular case, when you got salespeople, it really involves making sure that you have communicated in a way that taps into those natural motivations in alignment with that vision, right? And making sure that they're selling the right products to the right people with the right message in the right way will give them a feeling of progress towards what they're doing. So all told, clarity of vision, making sure that you're communicating them in a way that'll tap into those natural motivations that we all have, and that clarity of process so that they know that they're being effective each day, and you can then measure and help them with efficiency.
It looks like we have time for a couple more here. Let's see. Everyone has struggled in the time of COVID-19. How do we solicit prospects while being sensitive to their struggles during this time?
Values, right? I mean, this is the importance of values, right? And it's important to, as you're developing your value statements, is that, you know, it's about how you treat clients and customers, right? And then making sure that when you're looking at how you sell your products and services, you know, how those particular customers who are your ideal clients likely will feel and think about COVID. And so expressing those concerns, being upfront with those things. There's no right answer for any one business, okay? It's the answer that's right with your particular values.
That's a great answer there. Aaron Ennis from Energy Exteriors Northwest has a question about how do we navigate price slashing or aggressive discounts of competitors while everyone's trying to get back to work?
Well, I actually answered that with regard, it's the same answer I gave to Mike with regard to that is that you don't. You sell value. If you're in a widget business and it's all about price, well, that's a little different, okay? But you got to start with value and understanding your unique value proposition as it relates to your products and services, and what are your competitive advantages over your client, your competition. There's always going to be price slashers, always going to be there, okay? But what you want to do is you want to sell value, and in the end, and this is, I mean, think about it this way, folks. How many 2-star products have you bought? Not many. Value is an absolute in selling. We want the 4 and 5-star, even if it's a little bit more expensive. And that's why we've got to create value first, understand who values that, market it and sell that value to the right people.
That's great. Are there some first steps while people are looking out for planning that you can address and the planning for, say, 6 months out all the way through 2021? We have multiple questions about that.
I'm hesitating only because I don't want to sound like a broken record, is that there's no right answer, right?
Yeah.
There's only the answer that's right for you in terms of the time frame that you want to plan for. What I'm suggesting here is the most likely path to success is a 6-month vision coupled with a longer term 1.5 to 2 year vision that dovetails off of that should you hit the success of the 6 months with a lot more built-in measurements, review, adjustment periods in your actual plan, because you want to shorten up the time frame. At the same time, you don't know what you don't even know right now, and so keep it short. I think in looking at the people and the organizations on this call, most of your sales cycle is 3 months or less. Some might go out to 6 months, so it's hard to project. It's hard to even predict where you're going to be. You can only see about as far out as your normal sales cycle is to determine really where you are. And that goes back to an earlier question that's a corollary to what I said, is that if you're trying to project revenue, the farthest out you can project is likely the length of your sales cycle.
That's very helpful. That is the questions I've got right now. So I want to remind anybody, pop your questions in the question box and we can take maybe one more if you do have it and don't feel like we've addressed it yet. I have gone ahead and uploaded the downloadable PDF of the vision, mission, values exercises that Wayne has provided everyone. Go ahead and download there in your module where it says handouts. And let us know. Again, all of Wayne's contact information is in there. We are happy to get you connected. He's generously offered those consulting times, so please let us know. And you can also visit his website and fill out some information there as well. But with that, if there's anything else you'd like to add, Wayne, we might be able to answer any last minute questions or go ahead and conclude a couple minutes early.
Well, there's two things. One is that just a great deal of appreciation for all of you for being here, and I stand ready to help. You're on this webinar for a reason. You had a question, you had an issue, you've got something. I don't want to sound salesy, but staying in tune with what I'm actually saying and eating my own dog food, my unique value proposition is I can help you get there quicker, faster, and less expensively, so that you can develop that business plan with real meaning that you can act upon each day, and know when you go to bed each night that you're likely doing the things that most likely are going to lead to success. And you can get some sleep and hopefully wake up the next day ready to go the next. So I stand ready to help. It all starts with that free consultation, and should you reach out, I'd be honored to assist.
Well, thank you, Wayne. I did see a couple of notes that some people are having some trouble with the link. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and email it directly from me, and I'll CC Wayne on that email as well to make sure that everybody gets that PDF. So you don't have to worry if you had some challenges there.
Excellent.
So again, if you'll get a recording of this whole presentation after the conclusion here, and then there's a brief survey where we'd love to hear your feedback and get some more ideas of what we can do to help and get you in contact with Wayne directly as well. So without further ado, thank you, Wayne, for all of your time and all of your support. It's very important in the things we're facing right now.
You're very welcome, and thank you all, and goodbye. Good health.
Have a good afternoon.